Filipino scientists who have made exemplary contributions to the advancement of science and technology in the country and must have continuing connections and contributions to Philippine science. National Scientist. The Order of National Scientist is conferred by the President of the Republic of the Philippines and is the highest honor given to a Filipino man or woman of science. National Scientists are nominated from the members of the Academy.
Since 1978, 161 Filipino scientists have been elected to the Academy. As of 2024, the President of the Philippines has conferred the rank and title of National Scientist on 43 Filipinos, 11 of whom are still living. 67% of our NAST members are from NCR, 29% from Calabar Zone, and 1% each from Regions 3, 6, 7, and 10.
The Academy is composed of 6 divisions: Agricultural Sciences, Biological Sciences, Engineering Sciences and Technology, Health Sciences, Mathematical and Physical Sciences, and Social Sciences. NAST Philippines has 4 main functions: recognition, advisory, international linkages with other academies of science, management of the Philippines Science Heritage Center. The recognition function. The Academy recognizes and provides incentives to Filipino scientists and engineers for outstanding achievements in scientific and technological research and development. NAST Philippines fosters excellence in science and technology in the country through the recognition function. The primary mandate of the Academy is to recognize Filipino scientists and technologists who advance the state of Philippine science and technology. NAST also confers awards of outstanding publications in local journals, outstanding books or monographs, outstanding young scientist award for nominees under 40 years old, talent search award for nominees under 35 years old, and environmental science award.
Since 1980, 398 Filipinos have been recognized as outstanding young scientists. NAST has awarded the NAST Talent Search for Young Scientists to 132 young individuals since 1991. 223 scientific articles have been awarded as Outstanding Scientific Paper since 1993. 129 publications have been awarded as Outstanding Book and/or Monographs since 1994. 32 environmental scientists have received the NAST Environmental Science Awards since 2001. 6 individuals have received the NAST Awards for Outstanding Scientific Research in Tropical Medicine since 2005. 2 scientists have received the NAST Geminiano de Ocampo Visionary Awards for Medical Research since 2017.
Among the activities under the recognition function are NAST Lecture Series, NAST Symposium for the Youth, Research, Upgrading, and Performance Evaluation.
Since 2012, NAST Philippines have been conducting 6 to 7 research upgrading and performance evaluation sessions annually, enabling researchers to implement projects and publish scientific papers in international journals.
The second one is the advisory function. The Academy plays an important role as advisor to the President and the Cabinet on matters related to the role of science and technology in national development.
Through its advisory activities, NAST has been able to bring science and technology closer to the lives of the Filipino people. Our annual scientific meeting and regional scientific meeting in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao bring together experts to address critical issues and guide national development.
Other activities under the advisory function include science legislative and information fora and roundtable discussions. Speakers Bureau is a program which aims to bring experts in various fields to various institutions, such as academic institutions, who need speakers or resource persons on science and technology-related issues. NAST's commitment to international and national linkages are aimed at promoting collaborative efforts among Filipino scientists and between Filipino and foreign academies of science and promoting scientific cooperation.
NAST promotes global collaboration, connecting Filipino scientists with international peers to advance shared scientific goals. As of 2024, NAST Philippines has 16 bilateral agreements with 8 scientific academies and societies and is affiliated with 4 international scientific organizations.
Republic Act 9107 mandates NAST to manage, operate, and maintain the Philippine Science Heritage Center or PSHC. PSHC was created to be the country's main repository of the contributions, achievements, and accomplishments of Filipino scientists and technologists.
The activities under the Philippine Science Heritage Centers are Salin Lahi Symposium Series and Meet Your Scientists. Since 2010, 70,000 participants have joined the physical and virtual activities of PSHC, including the Salin Lahi Evolution Application Development Workshop and Contest. And in 2019, the center opened a hologram exhibit of living national scientists.
The NAST Philippines also manages the scientific career system under the Civil Service Commission, a system of recruitment, career progression, recognition, reward, and attraction of scientists and technologists in the public service.
NAST Philippines also provides technical and administrative support to the scientific career system under the Civil Service Commissions, providing a structured path for scientists and technologists in public service. As of 2024, there are 69 active and 114 retired career scientists. SES has 5 ranks based on scientific productivity, with 53 scientists at rank 1, 10 at rank 2, 2 at rank 3, 3 at rank 4, and 1 at rank 5.
NAST Philippines spearheaded the development of PAGTANAW 2050, the country's first foresight on science, technology, and innovation. PAGTANAW 2050 was initiated by former Secretary Fortunato T de la Peña and commissioned by DOST.
PAGTANAW 2050, meaning looking ahead, is the first interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary project on Philippine-focused science, technology, and innovation foresight and strategic plan. This initiative, launched by former DOST Secretary Fortunato T de la Peña, serves as a planning device for achieving concrete goals and long-term strategies, leveraging our archaeological and maritime resources to achieve inclusive growth, sustainability, and competitiveness in science, technology, and innovation.
NAST Philippines and DOST hope that PAGTANAW 2050 will guide the development of science, technology, and innovation in the Philippines towards a progressive archipelagic and maritime nation by 2050. NAST Philippines envisions an academy of recognized experts and serves as principal advisor to the nation on science, technology, and innovation, contributing to national development.
Together, let's work hand in hand towards a progressive Philippines anchored in science.
Okay, good morning, everyone. To formally start this program, may we invite everyone to pay attention to your screens for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and to remain in silence for the invocation.
God of all faiths, give us strength, wisdom, and fortitude to overcome all the challenges that confront us. God of all faiths, sustain us as we live each day in hope and peace, trusting in your goodness and everlasting love. God of all faiths, guide us as we care for Mother Earth and all our people for generations to come. God of all faiths, grant all this, together with all the hopes and aspirations of our people, our country, and the whole world. All this we pray. Amen.
Mapagpalayang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning and welcome to PAASE's Fireside Chat Series with a focus on PAGTANAW 2050, the Philippine Foresight on Science, Technology, and Innovation document. I am Dr. Joel P. Ilaw.
And I am Dr. Heidi F. Galvez.
And we are your moderators for
We are your
today's
moderator
session.
for today's session.
Okay, this four-part series is headed and organized by the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering in partnership with the National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines. NAST Philippines is part of the initiative to improve, strengthen, and evaluate the PAGTANAW 2050 document, ensuring that it is aligned to the emerging trends, changes, and advancements in ST&I development in the country and the world, all while staying true to our aspirations as a prosperous archipelagic maritime nation.
In line with this, every session aims to examine and evaluate each section of the Foresight document. For this session of this series, the speakers will be giving brief overviews of the first half of the fourth section of PAGTANAW 2050. The following subsections include 4.1, Blue Economy, 4.2, Governance, 4.3, Business and Trade, 4.4, Information and Communications Technology, 4.5, Science Education and Talent Retention, 4.6, Food Security and Nutrition, 4.7, Health Systems. Before we begin, we would like to also welcome our Facebook viewers. We're currently live streaming this event in PAGTANAW 2050's Facebook page. To stay updated with PAGTANAW's events, please follow PAGTANAW 2050 in all of its social media accounts. Also, follow PAASE's Facebook page for more information about events like this. To officially welcome us for today's event, may we call on the President of the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering, Dr. Gladys Cheris J. Completo.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I warmly welcome you all to the second session of our special four-part Fireside Chat series on PAGTANAW 2050, the Philippine Foresight on Science, Technology, and Innovation. This series is co-organized by the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering, or PAASE, in partnership with the National Academy of Science and Technology, Philippines. As you may know, PAGTANAW 2050 is the first national level foresight and strategic plan on science, technology, and innovation for the Philippines. Originally drafted in 2021 by NAST PHL together with Filipino scientists, experts, and institutions, and with support from the Department of Science and Technology, the document lays out a 30-year vision toward 2050. It anticipates megatrends, identifies opportunities and disruptions, and outlines strategies for a sustainable, inclusive, and globally competitive Philippines. Our goal with this Fireside Chat series is twofold. First is to review and reflect on key sections of the PAGTANAW 2050 document and contribute to its external review. Second, to engage the wider Filipino scientific, academic, and policy communities, both local and global, in a forward-looking dialogue, where we can exchange insights, raise critical questions, and enrich the foresight with diverse perspectives. These fireside chats are structured to be engaging, reflective, and collaborative. Each session features key presentations by resource speakers, followed by insights and reactions from distinguished reactors, and an open discussion with participants. This interactive approach ensures that the foresight is co-created, academically rigorous, yet practically relevant. Today, in our second session, we turn our focus to Section 4, Facets of Philippine Science, Technology, and Innovation. And we are honored to have with us our resource speakers. Academician Marie Antonette Juinio-Meñez for Section 4.1, the Blue Economy. Academician Fortunato de la Peña for Section 4.2, Governance, and Section 4.3, Business and Trade, and Section 4.4, Information and Communications Technology. Academician Cesar Saloma for Section 4.5, Science Education and Talent Retention, and Academician Jaime Montoya for Section 4.6, Food Security and Nutrition, and Section 4.7, Health Systems. We are equally privileged to welcome our reactors who bring diverse expertise and global perspectives. For Blue Economy, Dr. Ralph G. Turiman and Dr. Michael Roleda, and who will, if they are not here, they will just send their comments through a written document. For Governance 4.2, Dr. Edna Estifania A, Professorial Lecturer at UP, NCPAG, and Governance Consultant. For Business and Trade 4.3, Dr. Gonzalo Serafica, President of System, and Dr. Carlito Lebrilla of UC Davis, who will be submitting a written reaction. For Information and Communications Technology, Dr. Romel Gomez, University of Maryland. For Science Education and Talent Retention, Dr. Mariano Santo Domingo of University of Maryland, Baltimore. And for Health Systems, Dr. Felicitas Lacbawan, former Executive Director of the Philippine Genome Center, and Dr. Leah Tolosa Croucher of the National Institutes of Health in the USA. Their collective insights will help sharpen the PAGTANAW 2050 foresight, while also inspiring us to think boldly about the roles of science, technology, and innovation in addressing the country's critical needs in governance, education, trade, health, food security, and beyond. So once again, thank you for joining us this Thursday morning. Let us begin our conversation, confident that today's exchange will bring us closer to a shared vision of a science-driven and future-ready Philippines by 2050. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gladys Completa, for giving us an overview of the PAGTANAW 2050 and for explaining to us what will happen today. So to formally begin the discussion on subsection 4.1, Blue Economy, we are joined by an academician and member of the Biological Sciences Division of NAST Phil. She is a pioneer invertebrate scientist extraordinaire, a studying marine conservationist and development worker. She is a very prolific scientist with 1,667 citations in 2018, and she was involved in various regional scientific and interagency workshops related to managing potential conflicts in the South China Sea, particularly in joint marine scientific research and development. So, without further ado, please welcome our first speaker for today, Academician Marie Antonette Juinio-Meñez.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So magandang umaga po. Good morning. So I'm happy to be able to contribute in this fireside chat and to provide an overview of the Blue Economy section as well as insights. So I will provide an overview, but I will also provide insights on operational considerations towards a preferred future with focus on the fishery sector, particularly the small-scale fishery as an example, to provide us more context and practical applications. Okay, so I'm not going to repeat this. It was mentioned already. So the vision is a prosperous archipelagic maritime nation. And section 4.1 is one of the overarching operational areas, necessarily because of our natural resources, both living and living and non-living resources, that is envisioned to improve people's livelihoods and preserve the overall health of marine ecosystems. So, PAGTANAW 2050 is anchored on ambisyon natin 2040, matatag, maginhawa, panatag, na buhay para sa lahat. On the left, as you would see here, is a framework on how this was developed. And basically, the blue economy is indicated there with STI as a major input, for these different operational areas towards contribution to a prosperous archipelagic maritime nation. So the first important consideration, of course, is enabling policies and legal policies. Actually, we have a lot of laws and regulations, including the AFMA, the Agriculture Fisheries Modernization areas that already provide support for the importance of technology and development in these fishery areas. However, there are also a lot of pending national and international policies that are very much aligned with the blue economy, particularly in this decade of the ocean. So there is a pending bill, for example, in the Blue Economy Act that is already in the Senate. There is a review of an Integrated Coastal Zone Management Act, building from EO 533. And of course, the much anticipated ratification of the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, which is an UNCLOS implementing agreement, which has big impacts in terms of not only national, but as well as global opportunities in terms of the common heritage of mankind. So let me just go through briefly some of the pertinent sections. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the other details. We all know it's an imperative. The archipelagic country, more than twice the size of the total land area, is the jurisdictional maritime area, all the way to the EEZ, including the extended continental shelf. We have identified, we all know that there are various blue technologies or industries already in our GDP as listed here. Of course, number one would be the coastal tourism, fisheries and aquaculture, and all the rest, and emerging ocean energy for renewable energy, sea mining, also driven by the developments of the BBNJ, and of course, the marine biotech or marine bioresources industries. There are many definitions of the blue economy, which basically speaks that it's a balancing economic growth with ocean ecosystem protection, as indicated here. But there has been a lot of discourse also in terms of what is the definition, operational definition, And so the question is it blue enough? So many discussions in the literature discussing this aspect. So this question is anchored upon the basic assumption or importance of anchoring the blue economy within sustainable development dimensions. So we know about the triple bottom lines, ecological, economic, but very often social and cultural aspects are not taken into consideration, also related to governance, no? Because governance is not only the formal governance, but also the stakeholder governance. So I'm going to keep that, please let's keep that in mind. And so when we talk about technologies, science and technologies, we have to think, so what does that encompass? We know that it will be a crucial input to harness ocean resources. That's no doubt about that. And among the various technologies listed here, there's so much advancement in ocean technology, ocean engineering, sub-engineering because of deep sea exploration and now exploitation, satellite technologies, big data analytics, of course, biotechnologies going at a faster pace, and various tools for planning and all the like, monitoring. However, when we look at science technology innovations, especially in the Philippines setting, we also have to see what are the strategic, social, cultural, and economic contexts. And in this pitch, I'd like to call attention to the importance of looking and having a lens in terms of supporting the small-scale fishery. So bakit the small-scale fishery? We all know that this sector is the most vulnerable to climate change, disasters, and it's the poorest sector, together with the small farmers. And the Sustainable Development Goals emphasizes inclusive development and benefit, particularly in raising the standards of life of the marginalized section. So I'm building on from a recent case study on the Philippines, climate change impacts and small-scale fisheries that just came out. And in that case study, they summarize that these are the key areas for improvement. In other words, this is where the needs for solutions or improvement are. So coordination, community participation, monitoring, and what are the actionable areas or that needs a cohesive and effective approach to managing shared resources and adaptation strategies, incorporation of knowledge and feedback of small-scale fishers. In this time and age, even in the BBNJ, inclusiveness emboldens and recognizes the importance not of only science-based knowledge, but local knowledge in decision-making. And finally, something very crucial and often lacking is to track the progress and effectiveness of adaptation efforts. And this is not only for this sector. So when we look at, for example, a foresight or a plan, first thing we have to understand is who are the stakeholders? What do they need? What can they do? So looking at the Philippines local level, the most important stakeholders are the local government agencies and the local fishing communities. Why? Because our laws provide the local government units jurisdiction in the near shore up to 15 kilometers where you have the most productive and diverse ecosystems, but also the most impacted because of coastal development. And so we have to know who are the players and anong kailangan nila, no? To be able to help address the needs. Of course, there is a role for civil society organizations and academic institutions, many of whom probably comprise the science, technology, innovation sector that can contribute valuable expertise, data, and community engagement. And of course, the importance of the private sector to engage that are dependent on businesses, reliant on marine resources, to collaborate with local government units and develop finance solutions to help the small fishers. So small-scale fishing communities require support not only for technology development and adaptation, capacity building, actually skills development, but also access to climate finance. So if we look at STI, we of course have to align it with existing national policies and programs. And aside from technologies and infrastructure for industry, which we outlined, there is an importance to recognize the essential need to understand or develop social and governance innovations, or some people say the soft technologies. Okay, so how do we address this? There are three priority outcomes in the fisheries sector. The first is productive and resilient agriculture fisheries. For example, this is just an example, social transformation and innovation is important for that, aside from the technology, to ensure gender responsive, for example, aquaculture infrastructure. The second outcome is to conserve natural resources critical for agriculture, aquaculture, and fisheries. And obviously improve governance systems or methods and tools that can make that more efficient for sustainable farming and fisheries management, or the use and enforcement of agro-aqua ecological zoning measures. Everybody talks about all types of tools, but what is appropriate at the local level? And also sustainable research and development that is gender responsive. And finally, and critically, of course, is the food and income security of these marginalized sectors in the face of climate change. And this is where localized social economic networks are important. This includes support finding cooperatives or cluster production, early warning systems and information dissemination, market linkages, as well as credit and financing programs. So if we look at these, it's a mix of the hard technology, the tools, data, information needs to support, social and governance innovations to move forward in this fishery sector. The second point is, of course, it's a local, and we all know that fisheries is only one sector. Small fisheries actually is only a subsector. But on a broader scale, we need to be able to assist in looking at multi-sectoral, across sectors, in terms of different sector plans, what are the key blue economy objectives, and evaluate the cumulative contributions of all the blue economy objectives. Okay? So there are many frameworks now evolving, proposed at the global and regional levels. And so the question I pose is, so we have to look at evaluation of sustainable development. How do we evaluate the contribution of the STI sector? And this bears on how do we implement, the vision or move towards the vision. As I mentioned, globally, there are three major criteria for blue economy development, evidence of policy development. And yes, we have that, as I mentioned earlier. But the integration of sustainable principles, as mentioned, and the assessment and degree of implementation, which I think is very important for PAGTANAW looking forward. And here are some of the key implementation components, and I highlight here sector-based blue economy projects contributing to economic, social, and environmental goals. For the fishery sectors, for example, and other sectors, engagement of non-government stakeholder engagement mechanisms, which involves STI, and more importantly, monitoring and reporting systems, which not only technology, maybe data science, other monitoring taken together tools. So my last maybe insight is, should we now as a group also begin to think and develop or adopt criteria for implementation and evaluation of STI contributions to various blue economy sectors, it being an overarching operational areas. And what I'm showing here is just the framework being used globally for the criterion 1, 2, and 3 that I mentioned. So maraming salamat po sa pagkikinig.
Thank you very much, Academician Juinio-Meñez, for that insightful presentation. Moving on to discuss subsections 4.2, Governance, 4.3, Business and Trade, and subsection 4.4, Information and Communications Technology, is an academician and former secretary of the UST from 2016 to 2022. He has served the UST for a total of 24 years, and he has also served as a former chairman of the United Nations Commission on Science and Technology for Development. Currently, he is the president of the Philippine Association for the Advancement of Science and Technology and an advisor to the DOST Science Education Institute. Everyone, let us now listen to the recorded presentation of our second speaker, Academician Fortunato T de la Peña.
Correction, not recorded. I'm presenting now.
Ay, okay.
So I would
li-
like to share with you.
welcome, Academician
Good morning.
Fortunato de la Peña. Good morning po.
I would like to share with you my material, and this is based on the document. So this is an overview of 4.2 governance, business and trade, and information and information and communications technology. Next slide, please. So under governance, of course, we have the selected technologies for effective and efficient governance, and I'm sure that there will be modifications in this heading because there are technologies that are new and emerging that will be very useful. In the case of business and trade, it is in terms of enhancing economic efficiency and technological inputs. And in terms of ICT, it will be in terms of the technological forces. I have reserved a few sentences for each section after my presentation of the material. So let us go to the next slide. In governance, next slide please, there is a definition that was included here, and most important are the terms openness, transparency, and integrity, performance orientation, and effective collaboration, which is, I think, shall we say, put into, shall we say, into awareness now while we are facing difficulties in governance. Then, based on a future-oriented research program entitled Probing Our Futures, the Philippines 2000 AD, it mentioned that the Philippine society must embrace self-reliance and participatory democracy. Now, good governance is very crucial, of course, not only for economic needs, but also to foster critical and democratic virtues. There should be a greater appreciation for the use of science, technology, and innovation in governance. And this should be accompanied by critical thinking of history, politics, culture, and society. Next slide, please. So here, I will just go directly to the technologies that are considered to be relevant and important, okay, in having an effective and well-governed institution. So these are strategic technologies that can be harnessed for both government and private sectors because we talk of governance not only in government but also in industry to provide quality services, minimize human errors, and reduce unreasonable bureaucratic procedures and unnecessary costs so that we can achieve administrative efficiency and timely response. So the areas that have been identified under in our PAGTANAW 2050 were the internet, the use of the national ID system, the election computerization, the national defense technologies, national statistics system, customs enforcement, humanitarian, emergency response technologies, GIS, and cultural heritage preservation technologies. I guess all of them are still very relevant. While we have adopted election computerization during several elections already, I'm sure that there are still rooms for improvement. So the above list are deemed to have a direct impact on the effectiveness and efficiency of governance. Okay, I failed to read forensic science, which is number 7, and documentation services under item 6. Let me add, however, while this may be covered already under some of these technologies, the importance of geomatics and remote sensing, which is already playing a big role now, but will play more and more important roles in the period up to PAGTANAW 2050. I recall that during my term, we have developed an app jointly, DOST and DBM, wherein this is entitled DIME, D-I-M-E. Okay, I forgot already the meaning of its letter, but it is the use of remote sensing. At that time, wala pang masyadong drones, but this is really getting a top view of the completion of public works projects. Okay, and for that, jointly, DBM and DOST got an award. Okay, a top award from ARTA. Next slide, please. Now, I failed to forget to mention that in the enumeration of technologies under governance, these are actually the data science and artificial intelligence are to be mentioned in succeeding sections. But I think we have somehow grown in terms of awareness, adoption, and application since 2021 when PAGTANAW 2050 was released. But there has been a lot of developments and a lot of growth, as I said, in terms of awareness, adoption, and application, so that this will have, I think, a bigger portion of our updating. Next slide, please. So here, the key goals of governance, empowerment, inclusion, participation, integrity, transparency, and accountability are realized only if workable STI solutions are adopted, drawn for experience. The realization of the aspirations of an archipelagic and maritime Filipino nation can be facilitated if technologies for good governance are harnessed to engender transparency and trust. Such an environment is vital for nation building and national well-being. I would like to mention areas just to emphasize my own feeling of its importance. The part on defense and national security, I think, should be given more and more importance in the years remaining for PAGTANAW 2050. And I should mention that interconnectivity, intraconnectivity among the various government agencies are very important. Today, national government agencies do not know what each other's programs are and how they can complement each other and provide for a check and balance system. Mentioned also earlier by Dr. Meñez is the need to make use of social science, and related sciences in addressing our concerns. And I consulted somebody if paying attention to neuroscience will also be important, and he told me that it is going to play an important role, but we should be cautioned that it will not dictate to us what we should do. It can only make us aware in terms of improving governance systems. Next slide, please. The business and trade portion. Okay, next slide. This is the access to and use of science, technology, and innovation that have become vital to improving the production of goods and services, as well as to the facilitation of business and trade transactions. It has been observed that competitive advantage must come from the ability to create and to commercialize new products and processes, shifting the technology frontier as fast as their rivals can catch up. So we have actually three major sectors, as mentioned in PAGTANAW: agriculture, industry, and services. Each one has its own subsectors, as shown in the figures. Okay, which really needs some, shall we say, a goal of having a more balanced pie allocation. Next slide, please. You will notice one will easily probably notice that the commodity classifications that we see, and this is provided usually by the Department of Trade and Industry, has not changed over the past so many decades. Ito pa rin, at ito pa rin ang mga ratios, And there are other areas that have not been mentioned because the share is, if I may say, negligible. But the other neighboring countries have already expanded in those areas. So the listing here under DTI, cathodes and sections of cathodes, related yan sa ating mining, other mineral products, metal components, chemicals, electronic equipment and parts, other manufactured goods, and electronic products. Okay, and then they call the gainers. Under the losers, we have mostly, well, we have the agriculture sector here, the bananas, the machinery and transport equipment, ignition wiring, and other wiring sets used in vehicles, aircrafts, and ships. You will notice, while we have been devoting considerable R&D that can be of help to health and nutrition, we have not really come up with products that will be in the listing. Okay, and similarly, in terms of electronic products, we have remained to be assemblers and quality assurers, but very, very little in terms of newly designed products coming from here. And definitely, in terms of chemicals, I think we should analyze, okay, what can be derived, okay, from biological sources of chemicals. Next slide, please. Again, in terms of gainers, the telecommunication, in terms of growth rate, we have the telecommunications and electronic products as the gainers. And although we have problems now with electronics and semiconductors, I chair one company which is engaged in electronics and semiconductors, and I can see the, shall we say, the trend. Now, the losers are in terms of transport equipment, minerals and fuels, industry machinery and equipment, industrial machinery and equipment, miscellaneous manufactured articles, plastics in primary and non-primary forms, iron and steel, other food and live animals and cereals and cereal preparations. So the external reviewers have to take a look at this, how the, shall we say, the figures can be modified towards a more competitive Philippines. Next slide, please. So under trade and industry, our goal is enhancing economic efficiency. We have recently promulgated two laws. Okay, in this, it was only mentioned that we have a Philippine Innovation Act, but did not mention the Innovative Startup Act, which is, I think has going to play a major role in the years covered by our PAGTANAW 2050. And I would like to say that we still have to convince our top level leaders, okay, so that those SNT-based interventions to help SMEs in particular should be given more resources. We have been implementing the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program since 2003, and we have this has benefited thousands of SMEs all over the country in different regions, and the demand for that kind of service has even grown, and yet the budget has remained the same, basically. I do believe that if we really are serious about inclusivity and sustainability, we should focus on the MSMEs, particularly those that are located outside the traditional urban centers like Manila, Cebu, and Davao. Next slide, please. Trade facilitation. And it says here that globalization has opened up trade among many economies, cross-border flows of goods have promoted compliance with lanes coming from the trade and industry sector, that they are required, of course, to have a certification of compliance to standards, not only national but international standards. And yet, when they go to, let's say, to the Bureau of Standards, they would say that they have no capability in this area yet. And similarly, it is also experienced when you go to the Food and Drug Authority. Okay, it will take you years to be able to prove that your pharmaceutical or nutraceutical product is I think worth approving or licensing. Other regulatory bodies really are not prepared. I remember when we introduced our hybrid train. Of course, we spent so much to have it tested internationally. But when, in the case of the hybrid road train, when we introduced it to the two cities outside of Metro Manila, there was a problem that the LTFRB cannot issue a license to operate because they have no standards for that kind of vehicle. Next slide, please. The national quality infrastructure, while we have already, shall we say, succeeded to a certain extent about our laws on metrology, the full implementation of the law is not yet there. Next slide, please. We have here to summarize the following are technological inputs to our national quality infrastructure that really needs to be invested on: high-speed, high-capacity computing, high-throughput, large-scale systematic automated chemometric methods, analytical methods for biologicals, gene products, substrates, and cell activities. Of course, we are happy that the Virology and Vaccine Development Institute has been approved into law. Then, in of course, in 1921, there was no shall we say, mention yet of a virology institute. So we really have to update the emerging technologies for product inspection during transport and recycling technology, which has been playing a very important role, particularly in our country. We produce so much waste, okay, and it is a top problem in the whole country. In conclusion, productivity must be balanced by both economic and environmental sustainability. Next slide, please. Section 4 is on ICT. I will not dwell much on this, but I will just show you what is contained in the ICT section. It defines what are the technologies associated with the transmission and exchange of data in the form of sound, text, visual messages, signals, or any form, or by combination of these forms through the use of digital technology. I think there is a new law, okay, that needs to be looked into that pertains to dito sa mga bagong technology that we have. In particular, we need to really pay attention to cybersecurity. So next slide, please. Under ICT, okay, a government agency, business enterprise, or other organization that has been converted using DX would be called a digitally transformed entity. I think this is a top priority in the administration of President Marcos, the digitalization thing. That's why in one organization I had, the Philippine Association for the Advancement of Science and Technology, our national convention will be focusing on a multifaceted approach to the digital transformation. Next slide, please. So the key trends and gaps in the ST and I, although there is ICT in the Philippines, demand far exceeds the capability of the infrastructure. And we know that because there are many mission areas that have no connection yet, while in the DOST, we have already developed some technologies that can be of help, okay, in these geographically isolated areas. Okay, there has been no investments in it. The technology courses that are mentioned here, I already mentioned under governance, digital experience, analytics, cloud, and of course, the importance of data science and artificial intelligence. Next slide, please. So under the technology courses, the disruptive macro technologies that were identified were digital reality, blockchain, and cognitive technologies. And the macro technologies that have been mentioned were the business of technology, core modernization, and cyber risk. So the three technological mega trends that have been noted earlier were AI everywhere, transparency, immersive experiences, and digital platforms. There's so much to do about AI in our updating of PAGTANAW 2050. Next slide, please. The technology forces under these emerging technologies within this were identified in earlier publications: AI, Internet of Things, serverless computing, biometrics, augmented reality and virtual reality, blockchain, robotics, and of course mechatronics, and natural language processing and quantum computing. Other telecom technologies include the wireline communication infrastructure, fiber optic cables, wireless technology, submarine cables connecting continents. Next slide, please. And I mentioned this, the last mile connectivity, because the private businesses involved in connectivity would not invest in places where they cannot make profit. Okay, and it is the government that has to come in. But again, unfortunately, there has been very little improvement. Next slide, please. Now, before I say my thank you, I just want to emphasize the fact that in government, we have been investing, even if the investment is little in terms of R&D, that can help our country. Even the R&D funded by government, okay, is not being prioritized by department, national government agencies. And we experienced that when we were able to already agree in the cabinet that the hybrid train will have to be prioritized, that the manufacture, kahit na yung manufacture man lang of the trains can already be done here, and we have shown that it can be done. And there was a commitment by the National Development Corporation that they will finance the setting up of an industry related to the manufacture of trains. Nung dumating yung COVID, naubos sa COVID ang pera at wala na nangyari doon sa pangako na magkakaroon tayo ng train manufacturing industry. Maraming salamat kahit malungkot tayong lahat.
Okay. Thank you very much, Academician de la Peña. That was an enlightening presentation. Okay, now to move on with the program, to discuss subsection 4.5, Science Education and Talent Retention. He is an NAST member in the Mathematical and Physical Sciences Division. He is also recognized for his outstanding research and accomplishments in the field of instrumentation physics that have resulted in the development of new techniques and methods of measuring physical signals, signal sampling, and reconstruction. So let's give a big round of applause to our third speaker, Academician Cesar A. Saloma. Academician Saloma, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Sino po ba ang, okay. So, my talk today will be an update of the PAGTANAW 2050 findings that were published in November 2021. So medyo matagal na po. Kaya ninanais ko na ipresenta what happened beyond November 2021. So, next slide, please. So here I present the state of the STEM PhD graduate production in the Philippines today, particularly the graduation data that indicate that the PhD programs of the AST, HRDP, and ERDT partner institutions are underperforming in a sense that the success rate of DOST, AST, HRDP, and ERDT scholars, numbering 1,823 for the scholars in the basic and applied sciences, and 714 in the engineering and technology sciences from 2006, when the program was first initiated, until 2024, is only 41% and 35% respectively. Next slide, please. So ito po yung mga partner institutions ng DOST PhD scholarships. Yung mga scholars po natin sa DOST ay ang kanilang financial support ay sufficient, so they will go full-time in their studies. Now makikita natin po dito that hanggang ngayon 11 lang ang nag-qualify ng partner as a partner institution sa AST HRDP at 8 lang sa engineering. Kahit po mayroon tayong 1,882 HCIs, including 113 state universities and colleges in academic year 2024-2025. So basically, ang mensahe po dito ay hindi po dumami ang mga eskwelahan na mag-qualify maging member ng AST HRDP at ERDT partner institutions since 2006. Next slide, please. Now, makikita natin dito, ito yung combined na PhD graduate sa ating programa na ERDT at AST HRDP. At makikita natin dito that may impact din naman po ang introduction ng DOST scholarships na ERDT at AST HRDP. Nakikita natin na since 2006, after a small gap dahil hindi naman graduate agad ang mga scholars, tumaas naman ang number of PhD graduates. Since 2000 to 2024, mayroon na po tayong 3,894 PhD graduates. So on average, we produce at least 169 STEM PhD graduates a year. 88% of them are in the natural and applied sciences. Now, pag ikumpara natin ilan ang bagong abogado ang pinoproduce every year, ito ay one order of magnitude higher. At ang mga kaibigan kong abogado, nagsasabi pa sila na kulang pa daw ang napoproduce every year. In a sense, there might be a sense to their point of view because tumataas din ang Philippine population. Ganon din po ang number of certified public accountants produced a year, halos 2,000. But interestingly, in terms of passing rate, ang pinakamahirap na exam ay ang Civil Service Eligibility Exam, kung saan ay 14% lamang ang pumapasa noong August 2024. At ang service eligibility, civil service eligibility ay required po ito by law para magiging permanent government employee sa gobyerno. Next slide, please. Taon-taon nag-allot ang ating government, ang taxpayers through the National Expenditure Program ng slots para sa PhD scholarships. Pero makikita natin dito na ang absorption, meaning to say, ang scholarships na na-award ay pababa ng pababa. No? So, ibig sabihin, the allotted money is more than enough to award those who are qualified to go to study STEM PhD degrees in our partner in the DOST partner institutions. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Dito is a plot ng number of PhD faculty, ratio ng PhD faculty at ang number of PhD graduates. The total number of PhD faculty in STEM is increasing from 2011 to 2024. Mayroon na po tayo ngayong halos 1,900 sa ating partner institutions. Ngunit po, if we take the ratio of PhD graduates over total number of PhD faculty, hindi po sila nagbabago. Ang ibig sabihin po nito, ang implication nito ay hindi nagme-mentor ng PhD student itong mga PhD faculty natin. Next slide, please. Ang graduation efficiency, the success rate of our DOST scholars in the AST HRDP at ERDT program ay 41% lamang sa applied and basic sciences and 35% lamang sa engineering programs. At since 2021, makikita natin dito, and earlier pa, na nagtitaper off na yan. So, basically nothing new happened after PAGTANAW 2050 was published in terms of correcting the problem of PhD faculty not mentoring PhD students. Next slide, please. Sa UP itself, ang success rate ng EST HRDP at TRDT ay sa EST HRDP lower than the national average of EST HRDP. 14% lamang na mga EST HRDP scholars sa College of Science ay gumraduate at 40% lamang sa engineering. 36% of ERDT scholars are enrolled in UP Diliman, and the others in the UP system are in UP Los Baños. Second, next slide, please. We have a better success rate for the MS graduation, but it is important to understand that a PhD graduate is not replaceable by, say, 10 MS graduates or 5 MS graduates, because MS graduates could not supervise PhD students. So walang equivalent po yan. And it is also important to understand that maraming gustong mag-PhD. Yung mga estudyante, marami. Ang interest ay sustained. Ngunit po, hindi naman sila gumagraduate. So to my mind, this is a very serious problem in terms of advanced manpower training. And siguro po, i-address na natin ito. Ang entry nito ay ayusin natin ang faculty merit promotion system, as well as how do we get new academicians in the National Academy of Science and Technology. So next slide, please. Nagtitaper off na rin po ang kumukuha ng MS scholarships. Next slide. So maraming salamat at I'll be happy to engage in the open forum later on kung mayroon po. Tapos na po ako.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Academician Saloma, for the concise overview of science, education, and talent retention. At this point, we'll discuss the last subsections for this session, subsections 4.5 and 4.6, which tackles food security and nutrition and health systems, respectively. Our speaker for this is the current president of NAST and the chair of the Health Sciences Division. He's also the executive director of the VOST Philippine Council for Health Research and Development. He has significantly contributed to various aspects of tuberculosis. Additionally, investigated the efficacy of Mycobacterium vaccae as an immunotherapeutic agent to manage susceptible and multi-drug resistant pulmonary tuberculosis. Without further ado, let us welcome our academician, Jaime C. Montoya.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm being heard clearly.
Yes po,
Yes,
Doc.
thank you. Good day to everyone. On behalf of the National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines, allow me to thank the PAASE for leading this initiative to review the PAGTANAW 2050 document, which the Academy is working to update. I would also like to thank my fellow presenters, fellow academicians, and reactors for sharing their insights and expertise. As the last presenter, I will briefly discuss the subsections that deal with food security and nutrition and health systems. Here is the outline of my presentation. For section 4.6, food security and nutrition challenges, transformation in the Filipino diet, policy, and Envision 2050 food systems. For section 4.7, Universal Healthcare Act, science and technology application and innovation systems areas, and a conclusion. Let's proceed with section 4.6, food security and nutrition. In PAGTANAW 2050, we have identified several major challenges in the area of food security and nutrition. First, Philippine agriculture continues to lag behind the Southeast Asian neighbors in terms of productivity, growth, use of modern technologies, and sustained capital investments. As a result, the share of agriculture in the national economy has remained stagnant at around 11 to 12%. Second, our food system has long been dysfunctional. It is still viewed in a very traditional linear way, limited to three steps: production, marketing, and consumption, without fully recognizing the complexity and interconnections across the entire system. Three, finally, we continue to face the triple burden of malnutrition, undernutrition, hidden hunger, and overweight or obesity. These remain pressing health and nutrition concerns that affect both present and future generations. One of the three focuses of this foresight document is the shift of our countrymen towards the planetary health diet. This is a diet where whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and legumes make up a larger share of what we eat. Following this diet, we can significantly change our food consumption patterns and ultimately transform this structure of farming. To support this, we need to increase the production of high-value vegetables and production of high-value fruits using environment-friendly systems. The Foresight document also highlights the potential of developing modern tools for data and value-driven food choices. These tools can provide personalized food recommendations based on genomic data, while also considering factors such as planetary health diet guidelines, household budgets, support of local farmers, animal welfare, and even religious values. In line with this, in 2023, NAST Philippines, together with DOS Picard and Sharka, launched the Flex PhD competition, Food Its Life Exemplified through the Planetary Health Diet. This mobile application development competition encouraged organizations and app developers to create innovative solutions to help Filipinos move away from unhealthy diets. The application's developer envisioned to guide consumers in making smarter, value-driven food choices, with the planetary health diet serving as the core decision support system. The Food and Agriculture Organization defines sustainable food systems as those that promote green growth, inclusive growth, and eco-social progress. To move in this direction, we need policies that support nutrition-sensitive agriculture, ensuring more diverse and nutritious food production. It is also important to shift the agricultural sector from being largely extractive to one that is green and sustainable. For local government units, decentralized policies will allow them to play a stronger role in agricultural development. Meanwhile, the private sector will require consistent government support, sustained progress in improving environmental performance and innovation. This slide highlights the key features and will distinguish the envisioned 2050 food system from the current one, adapting to the unique maritime and archipelagic context of the Philippines. Individual consumption decisions will be data and value-driven. Connection between food producers and the consumer will be more direct. Food production will be highly diversified, local, and seasonal. Production will be closer to the kitchen as urban and peri-urban farms get a bigger share of the food market. Food production from the aquatic environment will grow faster than land-based production. The food system will be circular. Steps in the food system will be interconnected, allowing for a high level of transparency and efficiency. Reduce post-harvest losses with adequate dryer and cold chain, and a revived industry based on the use of biodegradable materials for food packaging. Food systems and health systems are deeply interconnected. What we eat influences our health outcomes, and in turn, the strength of our health system determines how well we can respond to nutrition-related and other public health challenges. With this in mind, we will now move to the second part of my presentation, which focuses on Section 4.7, Health Systems. During the making of this foresight document, the COVID-19 pandemic struck the Philippines and taught valuable lessons that highlight the very problems the Universal Healthcare Act and its predecessor reforms sought to address. The identified central problem is the unequal access to healthcare. From this emerged the following four main axes of factors driving the problem. First, patient-side health literacy, governing how or where they access care. Second, quality distribution and quality health facilities. Third, health financing alongside affordability of care. And fourth, health workforce concerns. This slide presents a figure developed during the 2020 SWOT and TOWS workshop of NAST Philippines. It is a health group problem tree analysis output, which illustrates the root cause, immediate causes, and the central problem confronting our health system. By utilizing the nominal group technique, 8 areas of scientific pursuit that are perceived to be important in achieving UHC by 2050 were identified, with 68 STNI identified through the Delphi method. Health information technology. This includes internet connectivity, electronic health records, health information system, and telehealth platforms. Health policy and systems research. This includes cost effectiveness, evaluation system, clinic management system, and primary care algorithm. Health workforce enhancement. This includes e-learning platform, online learning, massive open online course, manpower database, diagnostic system for primary care physicians, and health financing. This includes blockchain technology and payment system, attractive compensation for healthcare workers, and efficient sin tax collection. Health literacy. This includes public health education and information, digital platforms, and electronic systems such as gamification. Biotechnology. This includes locally manufactured biomedical devices, rapid and molecular diagnostics, natural products, and therapy using natural products. Precision public health. This includes genome database development and access, health information system, and omics technology. And lastly, the environment. This includes health, waste management, disposal and recycling, green architecture, biosensors for environment, and the like. In conclusion, the application of systems thinking methodologies would allow the identification of technologies that are cross-cutting, as this would be seen having outbound effects on multiple other technology areas and perhaps multiple universal healthcare attributes. This could confirm or inform planners as to whether an STI on the map should be given high priority or low priority, as the case may be, insofar as how it leads to universal healthcare. Ultimately, foresighting the Philippine health science, technology, and innovation is anchored in achieving an efficiently working and properly funded universal healthcare program, which addresses needs that are real, palpable, and which immediately improve human lives. At the moment of writing this foresight, the Philippine response is focused towards managing the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of the health system technologies accelerated by the pandemic are quite useful for strengthening the healthcare delivery system. In closing, ensuring food security, nutrition, and strong health systems are essential pillars in achieving our vision for 2050. These are not separate concerns, but interconnected priorities that shape the well-being and resilience of our people. Thank you very much, and I look forward to our continuous collaboration in making this foresight relevant and a reality. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Academician Montoya. As we move on and to further add value to our dialogue, we'll be calling on our reactors, highly esteemed experts in their respective fields, to share their insights, comments, and additional input regarding the presentations. Each reactor will be strictly given 7 to 10 minutes only to share their sentiments and thoughts on the subsections discussed.
So for our first reactor, she is currently a program officer at the U.S. National Institutes of Health. Let us all please welcome with a virtual round of applause, Dr. Leah Tolosa Croucher. Dr. Leah, hello.
Thank you so much. It looks like you gave me the first slot of the evening because I
Indeed.
threatened to leave at 11:30. I'm sorry about that.
I
It's
heard
been a
you.
long day. Yeah, so I was asked to react on both the business as well as the health systems. So in order for me to limit my talk to 7 minutes, I think I'm going to be talking more about the healthcare system because that's really more my field of expertise, since I am a program officer at the National Institutes of Health, and before that I was doing biosensors at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Just as a disclosure, in spite of the fact that I am employed by the US NIH and the federal government, whatever I am saying here, this is my opinion and does not reflect the US government or the NIH. So, talking about the healthcare system, I have to say that I have to I need to say that I think that the universal healthcare in the Philippines is a fantastic accomplishment because as you know, here in the US we are still trying to actually have an actual a real universal healthcare, and when we're still struggling. So this is a very good starting point for giving the Filipino people access to healthcare. And based on the figure 4.7.1, which I think is a very, very great diagram, it very clearly shows that poverty is the root cause of all health inequality, which is also the same here in the US. If you live in a low resource environment, most likely you have no access to proper health care. You have limited access to diagnostics and things like, and not only that, even healthful foods. Perhaps you are limited to highly processed foods instead of fresh vegetables and meat and fish. So whatever is happening here in the Philippines, I can relate as well to what is happening to us here in the United States. So one of the questions that I'd like to ask is who actually pays for universal health care? It's not very clear to me in the PAGTANAW documents. Also, if poverty is the main cause of inequality in healthcare, what are the efforts being made now? I mean, and how does PAGTANAW, what are the metrics in the future that you'd like to see? If let's say 50% of the population is below the poverty level, how do we want to see a decrease in the solutions that were that were given, at computers, blockchain, that kind of thing. How does that address poverty? If poverty, as you have seen, is the main cause, I'm not really sure how that addresses poverty directly. I was looking at figure 4.7.2. I like to look at figures because they're easier to understand. And some of the listed, what do you call them? The listed things that you would want to address, like biologics. I agree that we should start working on producing our own biologics in the Philippines. And now that many of the patents are, many of the biologics are getting off patent, I think this is the perfect time for the Philippines to use our manpower to start, producing our own biologicals. The same is true for other therapeutics. They are going off patent. Let's start working on them, or at least start doing working with companies in India or Singapore or Korea who are doing the same thing, and learn from them. And of course, food security, which was addressed as well. Yung precision medicine, I think it's a little too early for the Philippines at this point. Let's come up with antibiotics, probably generic antibiotics for everyone, especially in a tropical country. That's actually very important. So with that, I think, did I use up my 7 minutes?
30 seconds more.
Oh, 30 seconds more. Okay, so
Okay.
again, I want to say that the universal health care is a very good start. And I think we should grow on that. Or we should develop metrics for what we want to see in 2050, so that we have, we have a goal. We have a goal. This is what we want to do. Well, I'm sure merong error yon, but at least, alam natin, we want to reduce poverty by this much. We want to increase our doctors by this many. We want to, the same we're doing with the PhD students. I think we should also do that with our medical professionals. So that's just my take. Thank you so much for to give my reaction. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Leah Croucher, for the very insightful reaction and for raising some questions that speakers and presenters also should consider. Okay, so the other reactors, let me start with the Blue Economy reactor, Dr. Ralph Turingan. He is currently not here. So Dr. Ralph Turingan, who is a professor of ocean engineering and marine science from Florida Institute of Technology, will be sending his reactions at a future time to the organizers.
Dr.
But we'll
Joel,
hello,
can
yes.
can I go next? I'm on the health systems too, so I can piggyback on what Dr. Croucher had mentioned. And I'm also in the United States, so it's 11:30 also in the United States. So
okay, so we'll accommodate
Yeah.
that, Dr. Lakbawan. So
Okay,
I'll
sure.
let Dr. Galvez introduce you.
I can
Dr.
introduce myself.
Galvez, you can unmute yourself, Dr. Heide.
Okay, so we can have, just hold on. Our next reactor. Moving on, she's the immediate past executive director of the Philippine Genome Center of the UP system. Hi, ma'am. She's
Hello.
board certified in clinical pathology, anatomic pathology, clinical genetics, and molecular genetic pathology. Please welcome Dr. Felicitas Lakbawan. Ma'am?
Right. Yeah. So just to add on my background, I'm actually a pathologist and a clinical geneticist practicing in the U.S. for the past 30 some years. I joined the Philippine Genome Center last year, 2023, the latter part of 2023, and then retired January of this year. So it was a short stint, and it wasn't expected that I would retire right away, but just to kind of like give you my reaction and transparency aside, and maybe this is a good example of I stayed in the United States for so long. I went back to the Philippines thinking that I can give back, but there are certain limitations to what we can do, and probably I can share my observations during the past year. So reacting to Dr. Montoya, thank you very much for a very comprehensive discussion on the health system as well as the nutrition part of the plans for STI. I've been actively involved in the past year in terms of the WHO Epidemiology Bureau plans and readiness for pandemic as well as emerging infections. I was also involved in different aspects of the Philippine Genome Center, including all the sequencing for the different organisms from zoonotic to animals to rice. But at the end of the day, yes, Dr. Coucher mentioned that poverty is like the main issue. However, I think there are some advances that can be done. I think given that we have some resources, we can actually focus on what can be done, right? So yes, the problem is accessibility, affordability, equitable healthcare, and services, right, among Filipinos. And universal healthcare could be a good answer. However, in my discussions with key people too, the universal healthcare has not been really well planned out. And so there are still gaps, and maybe this is something that all the people who have experienced universal healthcare or other healthcare systems can come together and do some kind of like meeting of the minds and just prioritize what are the low-lying fruit. How can we live for development? How can we prioritize and be realistic about the roadmaps and plans for implementation? I think I'd speak to and react to Dr. Couch's comment on why is it that's basically informatics technology and advances in precision health. We're far behind. The US actually, yes, is far ahead of us, but among the ASEAN countries, we're practically probably one of the last ones to are implementing all these molecular diagnostics and all these advances in technology for diagnostics as well as for therapeutics, right? So at the end of the day, you and I have genetic backgrounds that are actually very different from Caucasians, and we don't even have whole genome sequencing database in the Philippines. How can we interpret all these variants? I, for one, have a family member BRCA2 mutation that actually I cannot even interpret. I'm a geneticist. I can't even counsel my own family, and neither do I have the confidence to say this is a variant that would really affect people in my family, and it would predict who are the people who are going to have breast cancer. So that in itself, it's very near and practically kind of challenge the whole existence of, yes, you were trained in genetics, but you can even handle your family's issues, right? So that said, and there's also some genome or genetic-based therapeutics for cancer, and that we know that there is a lot of therapeutics that are actually genetics-based tests, and we can't afford it, right? So I will tell you that a lot of people, when I was in the Philippines with the Philippine Genome Center, were asking for that. They were clamoring for those testing. And so what I did was put a roadmap in the Philippine Genome Center, wherein we have the people who can do sequencing. We have the instruments that can do sequencing. We have the people who can do bioinformatics. However, we cannot do the clinical diagnostics because we're not really trained and we're not validated to do tests at the Philippine Genome Center. So fast track, I did a roadmap where we could actually transfer technology in the Philippines, make it our own, develop our own testing, and make sure that eventually we can offer our own testing. Circling back, I think that digital transformation is a key, be it universal healthcare, be it diagnostics, be it radiologic, or precision public health, right? So that is actually very glaring. We don't have a very good electronic health record. We don't have a very good laboratory information management system. We ran the whole genome sequencing for virology during the pandemic, but we didn't have a true LIMS or laboratory information management system that is well actually validated end to end. And practically, since I came from the industry and also from different academic institutions in the US, it becomes a glaring issue of how can we handle all those data and how can we go and advance for clinical diagnostics and support. How are we going to advance for all of the other artificial intelligence managed and kind of aggregate all this data so that we could further manage our patients very well? So that, I think there are modular tools and solutions. There are people who understand artificial intelligence within PAASE. I've been PAASE member since the late 90s in the US. And I think that people listening to this talk are really into identifying where they could actually help and develop solutions and tools within what is actually angkop sa Philippines in terms of the Filipinos and the Philippine system. So I think there are subject matter experts, there are knowledge KOLs or key opinion leaders and thought leaders within us. We can put our heads together. In fact, Mario and Rommel, we actually had talked at some point where we would identify where are the low-lying fruit and where can we actually send people or people are willing to help out in the Philippines. That is for the digital and precision public health. Genomics is part of precision health, but we cannot advance the genomic and genetic testing in the Philippines not unless we are actually well knowledgeable and we know how to validate tests and we know how to transfer technology and really address whatever universal healthcare is ready to cover, right? So then it becomes like, is there a centralization versus a decentralization of diagnostic laboratories? We had this pandemic. A lot of hospitals have actually done PCR, but how far are we going to create those laboratories into a diagnostic laboratory? The other thing that emphasize is the lack of resource or workforce resource. I, for one, when I got there was probably one or two molecular pathologists, but they were not trained the way we were trained as a molecular pathologist. So I'm sending one of them to University of Alberta so that even if I'm not there, I can talk to people who understand what we really do in molecular diagnostics and help advance molecular pathology practice in the Philippines. And then the other thing is compensation and retention, right? So I was not very particular about the compensation, but more on the people who you would want to retain as bioinformatician, as technologists, as pathologists, right? So practically, I did my research at the National Institutes of Health. I was paid as a clinician and practically advanced my career in the research and development field because I was given the opportunity to be paid as a clinician. And I don't have to be like moving from one hospital to the other to really compensate for the loss of my income. The last one, we need to manage change. I think my coming or joining the Philippine Genome Center had touched certain aspects that are very sensitive. I come in as a foreign trained, but I know exactly before I left in 1992, I was a faculty of biochemistry in the University of the Philippines College of Medicine, that there is some gaps, right? So I've identified those gaps, but I come back, I get more frustrated because those gaps are still there, right? So it becomes like, okay, what have we done? And how can we really address those gaps? Procurement is a problem, right? But bottom line, I think what needs to happen is we need to be more open to people coming back to the Philippines, making sure that they are actually welcome, because I did not feel that welcome. I'm very candid and transparent, right? I went to the Philippines trying to offer my services, but people did not understand. And I think even the society where I should be belonging to doesn't even recognize my extensive training in pathology or in genetics. So bottom line, I have my 10 minutes, and there should be collaboration, inclusion, empowerment, and maybe equal, opportunity for people who are really willing to help in terms of returning back to the Philippines. And I reserve some of my reactions to people who would want to know more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lakbawan, for the very insightful reactions and the honest to goodness comments. Okay, so we'll move on to the next reactor, who's also based in the US. He is a professor and associate director for evaluation and research, Mayor Huff's Scholars Program of the University of Maryland in Baltimore County. Let us all welcome Dr. Mariano Santo Domingo. Dr. Mario.
Maraming salamat, Joel. Good evening to everyone. Good morning sa Pilipinas po. First, allow me to thank and congratulate Dr. Saloma for his thorough and candid update on PhD completion in the country. I'm really very impressed that he shared figures up until 2024. These are eye-opening, if not surprising actually. He mentioned the 41% completion for AST-HRTP and 35% for ERDT from 2006 to 2024. So these are actually the types of data that we want, because as was mentioned during the first session, the PAGTANAW 2050 is a living document. So we need to keep updating our numbers. We need to keep updating our knowledge, about several areas that we care about. So the numbers that Dr. Saloma presented show that while there has been progress, we are still underperforming relative to the urgent needs of our knowledge economy. So we want to make sure, that we are tracking, our STEM students. We want to also know about what's happening, for example, in our science high schools. How many students enter, how many students complete science high schools, how many students go on being STEM majors, how many of them graduate from STEM, how many of them go to MS, how many of them complete their PhDs. So these are, I think, very important in trying to draw or understand the pipeline of our STEM education in the country. But before I continue, let me just affirm that PAGTANAW 2050 rightly frames the challenges that we are hearing about within an ecosystemic vision. I am a community and applied social psychologist, so I basically use the framework of ecology in understanding how larger systems influence, the microsystem and even the individual, in many ways. Looking at STEM talent development and retention from an systemic vision is basically right up my alley. It's not just about producing more PhDs in isolation. So it's about ensuring that the entire system of governance, education, industry, and community creates conditions where scholars can begin, persist, and thrive. I was initially thinking that perhaps I'll leave to Dr. Edna Co, the discussion about governance and, the more macro and exosystemic factors. But of course, we cannot really separate, these larger systems to the smaller systems that we all care about, including our students of STEM, Dr. Saloma's analysis is really valuable because it compiles longitudinal data and sets the stage for wider inquiries into graduate student persistence. So we rarely have this level of systematic tracking. And the fact that these completion rates are now on the table allows us to move from anecdote to evidence. Okay. That said, that analysis can be strengthened by adopting a broader, more comprehensive understanding of doctoral completion in the Philippines. So completion is influenced not only by the availability of mentors and qualified faculty, and these are really very essential, but also by complex multi-level factors identified in research in many areas of the world. For example, socioeconomic pressures such as financial status and employment obligations, institutional conditions including inadequate research infrastructure and heavy teaching loads, and cultural and psychological dimensions such as belonging, motivation, and mental health. I thought that mental health among the scientists is not very much mentioned, in PAGTANAW 2050, which being a living document, we should make sure that it's also covered. So a framework that brings this together would allow us to contextualize doctoral persistence more fully and design interventions that match the realities faced by our graduate students. So I'd also like to mention high impact practices for STEM education and retention. So in looking ahead, we should also consider these high impact practices that evidence shows can strengthen STEM persistence and eventually increase PhD production. So these include early and authentic undergraduate research experience, learning communities and cohorts that build belonging, structured mentored research and capstone projects, for example, bridge programs and first-year seminars that build early confidence among our STEM students, even community STEM projects and service learning, which connect science to societal needs, and robust academic advising and mentoring constellations, including the inclusion of diaspora and digital mentoring. Okay, so mentoring from those who are abroad, for those who are willing, to volunteer their time. So when scaled systematically, these practices can make persistence the norm rather than the exception. So from my experience with the Meyerhoff Scholars Program here in the US, success is never the result of financial support alone. It is built on mentoring networks, peer support structures, and an environment that affirms identity and aspiration. In the Philippine context, this means strengthening not just scholarships and labs, but also community supports, cultural and linguistic accessibility. I think PAGTANAW 2050 is also silent about the use of Filipino language, for example, in K-12. And of course, I already mentioned the mental health services. These are not luxuries, they are foundations of persistence. Equally important, I already alluded to this, is data infrastructure. As Dr. Saloma has modeled in his study, we need systematic, disaggregated, and longitudinal tracking of our STEM scholars, their entry into programs, their progressions and challenges, their eventual career trajectories. Without these, we cannot design evidence-based policies nor adjust programs responsibly. I would also like to say that we also need qualitative research, for example, in understanding STEM persistence, STEM completion, and success in STEM overall. So I just would like to conclude by saying that opening the door for a more expansive conversation about doctoral education in the Philippines is important. Okay, by pairing, for example, Dr. Saloma's findings with a broader framework of doctoral persistence, and by adapting high impact practices, and by embedding the work within the ecological and cultural vision of PAGTANAW 2050, we can build not only more PhDs, but also a resilient, inclusive, vibrant scientific community for the country. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mario. So for our next reactor, he is a corresponding member of the Mathematical and Physical Sciences Division of NAST Philippines. He is a professor and associate chair for undergraduate education at the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Maryland College Park. Please welcome Dr. Romel Gomez. Sir?
Wait a minute. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I guess you can hear me, yes?
Yes po.
Thank you. So I guess I was asked to react on section 4.4, specifically information technologies. And in particular, this new disruptive technology that is upon us, namely artificial intelligence. There's a lot of upheaval regarding AI nowadays because it seems that just like fire, this is a disruptive technology that could be positive or be negative depending upon its use. So, therefore, we are extremely careful in how to proceed with this big change in the wind called artificial intelligence. I would like to first make mention of the fact that probably the circumstances in the Philippines might be a little bit different from the circumstances here in the United States for various reasons. One of the things that I am quite curious in the Philippines is the amount of penetration for the real understanding of artificial intelligence. In here in the United States, artificial intelligence is so pervasive that even I suppose K to 12 students, maybe ninth grade or 10th grade, are already quite adept in AI, and not only those things that are common to us, like Chat GPT or Cloud or those kinds of assistants, but even more complicated ones. People are able to now, it used to be that computer coding was quite a very stable job. Nowadays, it is no longer because artificial intelligence has become so sophisticated, particularly in things that you can document very well, like computer coding. The computer coding society is a very liberal society from the start. They wanted open everything, open source, and there's everybody is just exchanging brilliant ideas free of charge to each other. AI has been able to harness this. Imagine that AI is basically like a network of systems that gathers information with seemingly infinite capability to memorize and classify things. And so it is not so difficult, for example, nowadays to have a coding problem and you would basically tell them, I wanted to create a system that will allow me to I don't know, analyze images in this particular way. And that had become trivial to many of the people. So it has really quite impacted our lives in a big way. In the Philippines, I sense, I do not really have, I do not know the penetration of and how AI is used in regular life. What I do know is that there seems to be a prevalence of negative use of this new technology. We have deep fakes, of course, that could be easily generated. It is so easy now to generate what looks like reality. And so it is therefore, very important to, at the very least, inform our society of the dangers of these kinds of technologies and what is about to what it could create. I really could not give any specific recommendation as far as the direction of AI in the Philippines without really first understanding what is the penetration, what do people know about AI. I am sure that the younger people who are digital natives would probably be much more confident than the older people like myself to actually follow this technology. So I am a professor. I'm a professor for nearly 25 years now at the premier R1 University, University of Maryland. And so we have seen these technologies. We have instituted many, we have thought about this. And from a university setting, if I may, I would simply just maybe make a little bit of a recommendation of a recent study that we performed and in 2024 as to what's the structure, for example, that a university can do to address um, issues related to AI, good or bad. And let me just mention, I'm just looking for my notes a little bit. So the idea is really quite straightforward in the sense that uh, basically the study created what is known, what we call key recommendations. And this is really not very many, it's only about three. And so one of the recommendations that we had was there's got to be some form of a university-wide oversight committee to ensure the ethical, transparent, and privacy respecting use of AI. So it means a little bit of a governance, a little bit of an oversight. Now, this is at the university level. I imagine something at the local, probably national level could also be implemented in a similar way where there's an oversight. We have to understand the ethical principles behind it, the privacy, the transparency, all of those are quite important if we're going to use the AI as a tool, for good as opposed as for malfeasance. And then the next one is we have to promote, we should not be scared of AI, but we should actually come up with systems that accelerate AI support in all aspects of exploration, community connections, organizational use of AI. We should embrace it. We should have an AI accelerator. And part of the AI accelerator, from the point of view, for example, of the teaching community, is to educate the teachers exactly on what kinds of AI tools are available to everyone. There are the normal, you ask a question kind of thing, AI. There are things that are embedded with certain software systems that might correct your grammar. Those are pretty okay. And then there's AI systems like large language models that you can program to identify certain things. So it is no longer difficult. For example, to even this very straightforward Google Gemini, you can take a picture of something and you can ask it what's in front of you, and it's going to tell you precisely what it is. So it could allow you then to navigate. And that's just using AI. You can go blindfolded. All you have is use your phone, use these powerful tools that are available to us now, and you can actually come up with things that are pretty spectacular. We need a way the Philippines to catch up to these kinds of remarkable technologies. And so an AI accelerator at some setting in the Philippines is probably good for us in the context of PAGTANAW. And then we should also have some sort of a repository of AI tools that we can trust and we can use. And maybe some of these things we have to pay. We have to pay for subscriptions from systems that we trust. There has got to be a certain level of trust resources in order to be able to harness the power of it in research. We have form an AI adoption tools that we can use. AI is coding now. Tools to us. Those are my I guess 3 cents. I do not know. I did not keep track of the time, but that would be the message that I would view of AI in general and how we are reacting to it. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Romel Gomez, for that reaction. And thanks for raising the issue of the role and the influence of AI technology, which is ever present here, no? And also in the immediate future. So actually, there's a saying that the new programming language is the English language because of prompt engineering, and more people are starting to use AI, especially also here in the Philippines.
Since you reacted, can I have one more minute? One of the
Okay.
things about these searches is they're all based. The powerful ones are these large language models, and they're predicated upon the English language. And if you are going to ask, the important thing about the AI is not, if you can ask questions, basically what to ask. And these AI tools sometimes are very prescriptive. You have to have very precise questions on what to ask in order for you to be led into a very good answer. If you have something generalized, that's going to give you a very, it has to be very structured, which means that it should rely on human intelligence. And part of the human intelligence is the ability to communicate in its natural language, which is English. We have to improve vocabulary, for example, in the K to 12. I am one of those people who strongly opposed, way back when I was at the University of the Philippines, of converting every single course into its Filipino. It was contrived. I'm sorry, it was misplaced nationalism at that time. And the consequence, we have lost the edge of having really important. That was used to be the lingua franca. Have to bend our sails. And so, I mean, those are just some thoughts. And thank you for reacting.
Perfectly said, additional remark, Dr. Romel. So we'll proceed on to our next reactor, this time from the Philippines, Dr. Edna Estifania A. She is currently a professorial and she of Representatives.
Can you hear me? I'll be very
Press.
and technology being a very key player that could make administrative efficiency, that could put on reliable database, which is crucial to decision making, and so on. and technology being a bridge to what we may call in the Philippine context, the complex geographic feature, which is really an island, a country which is divided by waters, land divided by water, and technology could actually serve as a bridge, a physical a bridge to this archipelagic particularity of the country. There are, of course, other contributions of technology to governance. The geoinformation manages and consolidated data, consolidates data, data analysis, and map out poverty for administrators to really take action, tax collection, statistics, and so on. And therefore, in that sense, technology as a focus of governance is a magic wand in that sense. And I think we guys still need to look at how much more we can use technology to become really the magic wand. However, the frustration I note is that governance is not just about the technology. If you will ask me from a sociological point of view and from public administration point of view, governance is beyond technology. Governance is about the three sectors, namely the players, which are government, the industry, the private sector, which plays very key role in the run of the economy, and the citizens, and how these three sectors should be able to work together and produce some innovation, either complementing each other or probably saying filling the gap between government and the industry, or probably between government and citizens. So I think governance is about those three: government, industry, citizens. But let me add that in the 21st century, and as we look at 2050, innovation is very crucial. And this is a challenge, which is why my frustration, however, in the given version of the PAGTANAW is that it did not shed light thoroughly enough on the three sectors that I mentioned. And it focused very strongly on technology, which is fine, but the chapter should be able to deal with the so-called the new challenges and the shared responsibility of the three key players. So governance in that sense is about sociological, but also technological. So the approach I am expecting is really socio-technological. On the last point I wish to make, on the second point I wish to make, the skills required by each of the sectors should be able to be triangulated, to triangulate in the coming 3 decades until 2050. And so I'm very particular about how do we triangulate the three sectors for the first 6 years, for the second 6 years, and for the third 6 years. It cannot be without a sense of time and without a sense of output and performance criteria for each of the 6 years. My mindset is that governance is actually determined by new players from the three sectors, and therefore it has to be bound by what the Constitution is saying. The term of an administration is 6 years. And in that sense, we have to look at the coming first 6 years, assess it, and move to the second 6 years, and so on until the third 6 years of 2050. So technology is partly but significantly an important factor which describes how the labyrinthine bureaucracy in the Philippines dimension. And when I speak of social dimension, it refers to the integration between the hard technology and the soft technology, and between and among players. And therefore, governance is cannot be equated simply to technology. The government, the industry, and the citizens, plus the challenges to be innovative across time. And therefore, I hope that, and how all of these three players, government, industry, and citizens, could share responsibilities and challenges throughout the coming years until 2050. It's all right to make some adjustment as per end of every 6 years and make some innovations thereafter and adjustments thereafter. But I would say without the three sectors joining hands together, the shared responsibilities of governance and the challenges to governance will fail and will hardly be delivered. So innovation should also mean holding hands by these three sectors. I will end with that, and I'd like to give way to more speakers and more contributions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ko, for highlighting the need of strong tie-up of three key players in governance, government, industry, and of course, all of us, the citizens. And that governance has a social dimension for the successful interaction of these key players. So moving forward to our final reactor, he is a corresponding member of NAST Philippines in the Engineering Sciences and Technology Division. He's currently the president of Center for Integrated STEM Education. Let us welcome Dr. Gonzalo C. Serafica. Sir, your floor.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for staying. Looks like we didn't have that much fallout, except probably a little bit late for the people in the US. Can I share my screen, Joel?
Yes, we'll allow that.
Okay. Let's see if we can see it. But really, I just wanted to capture what we're trying to do, because I'm on both sides. I was part of the people who have inputted to the PAGTANAW 2050 very early on. But of course, it got frozen in time, sometime when we have to write it down, just like any design. And since then, we've been actually improving on it. And as part of the Engineering Sciences Division, we actually started to do a stakeholder analysis of basic industries of the future, namely agricultural technologies in Industry 4.0, AI, EV, electric vehicle and mobility, as well as additive manufacturing and omics technologies, to see who the players are, because that's exactly what I'll follow on from what Edna mentioned, except that instead of three players, Edna, what I presented in the National Academy last July is the stakeholder of 5 players. That includes the entrepreneur and the risk capitalist. In my case, or partly the foundations are taking part in providing risk funds, and definitely having all the key players to solve particular problems in each of the different sectors are very critical. I'm trying to see if I can share my screen.
Yes, you can share.
Let's see how to start. I'm trying to see if it does work here. No, it didn't. Nevertheless, at this, I don't know why it's not sharing. The comments that I wanted to do, definitely on some of the press. Going to be present in 2050 will be absolutely different from where the initial PAGTANAW was focused in. That's why we had to look at those 5 industries, just for starters, to do a stakeholder capability analysis. And let me see. Where is this? And when I mention industry, it can be a whole sector that's focused on a particular industry of the future. Would be focused on those 5 players, being entrepreneurs that are going to roll out the technology for business, because again, my talk was focused on wealth creation of using bioscience, and unfortunately I can't share my screen. I don't know what's going on here, but
You may
hoping
just
that I could do so,
describe and explain further, Doc.
but nevertheless, yeah. So those 5 players would be those in those industries need to be identified early on for us to be able to help PAGTANAW to be realized. It's actually the operationalization aspect of PAGTANAW that I was more focused on in order to bridge what we aspire and dream of in 2050, 25 years from now, to what's happening on the ground now. Who are the players in this current business and trade environment, and what other aspects of government as well as industry need to change in order to continue to progress every single administration that we will encounter in the next 25 years. That's 3 administrations indeed, as I've been to 3 of them in the Philippines since coming back after spending 25 years in the US. So I kind of been to the promised land. I've seen a working ecosystem that supports technologies like me and becoming entrepreneurs and having a venture capital to back me for 17 years with $40 million, and eventually selling the business and allowing me to retire. So that's kind of an ecosystem that I wanted built here ever since I came back here 12 years ago. And PAGTANAW is part of that vision. And what we need to do is, how do we get there? And how do we get there in each of the sectors that I've been helping, in agriculture, in health, that being omics, as I mentioned to Fe, in education, where I ran a foundation for the last 4 years, having spent 40 million from Unilab Foundation on AI and teacher training in STEM. In environment as well, looking at the circular economy and having our Green Chemistry Academy, partly sponsored by Dow Chemical. So what I am preaching is what we're practicing now, this multi-stakeholder capable solutions provider, where industry puts out funding together with government and academia brings forth their best minds. And the entrepreneur actually looks at the potential ability to make it sustainable by having income and products to be able to continue its advocacy. And initially in the Philippines, having been part of the League of Corporate Foundations in the last 4 years, I must say that the patient capital is in the foundations right now, but definitely risk capital, including social capital, Edna, needs to be put forth in each of the sectors for us to be able to really solve real problems moving forward and advancing ourselves towards the aspirations of 2050. So I think that's probably, I'll stop there. I mean, if you have a chance to look at our NAST pages, I think our presentations last July is in the Facebook page of NAST, and definitely we look forward to updating this current NAST, which really needs a lot of updating from the regulatory alone. We've done several face-to-face on drug devices and diagnostics with the FDA in terms of the National Innovation Council, which Giselle is the member for PAASE. I've been involved with the National Innovation Competitions as well. I'm quite impressed with the startup community that's emerging. I hope that the Philippine Innovation Act and but the original law was for 1 billion pesos, except that COVID did happen and most of the medical emergencies. It's important because people always say in the era of AI, data is the new oil. But being a chemical engineer myself, even crude oil needs to be refined. So we need to develop the unit operations and processes to come up with the raw data for AI to be able to create the ideal products. And we're doing that now. I'm mentoring some companies on AI that can actually operationalize no-code AI support for companies in 1 month, less than 6 weeks. And they guarantee it that AI will show your benefit in the company. That's how fast AI is advancing in the Philippines and in Asia. Of course, AI labs with and definitely we have all the input. The key is localization. How do you localize technical inputs for all of these modern technologies into the local setting, in the regional as well as local government, for it to be able to show its outcomes and impacts sooner rather than later, and advancing ourselves to the ideal Pantanao 2050. So I think expertise clusters of PAASE for us to be able to input very specific advancements and
Okay, thank you, Dr. Al. Entrepreneurs na in basically completes the live reactors for today. The other reactor, Dr. Carlito B. Rebriria, the corresponding member of NAST Philippines in the Mathematical and Physical Sciences Division, is not present here, but he will send his reactions to the organizers at a future time.
Again, thank you to our set of reactors for the fruitful addition of sentiments and valuable insights, and for the later reaction shared from others.
Okay, so now to further enrich our discourse, we will now open the floor for any questions, clarifications, or reflections on the previous presentations.
So for those who have questions, kindly use the raise a hand feature or send your query in the chat box. If you also have a sentiment to share and to add to further our conversation, kindly manifest it in the chat box or raise your hand. For our Facebook viewers, kindly type your questions in the comment section, and the PAGTANAW Secretariat will communicate it here in the Zoom.
Okay, so let me just read one question, Dr. Hayden. This is quite interesting for me, so I'll pick this question from Benigno Pegson. This is addressed to Dr. Cesar Saloma. One reason for poor growth in the advanced training may be the painfully slow release of funds for projects which are already approved. Months elapse, but before researchers are paid. Any reforms to address this basic defect?
Thank you for that question, but it's not really true. Kasi may mga doctoral research problems na hindi naman kailangan ng malaking pera. I, for one, do not need millions of pesos from DOST in order to train PhD students. So, ang problem talaga po natin, hindi nagme-mentor ang mga PhD faculty. Hindi kumukuha ng PhD students kasi they can get away with it with our faculty merit promotion system. That's the problem that we are dealing with right now. It's not funding. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good insight, Dr. Saloma. Perhaps programs would need to also be put in place to encourage our PhD mentors to be more active in mentoring.
May I add, no? For example, sa UP Faculty Merit Promotion System, we have to examine and improve how do we give tenure, what is the minimum degree requirement for hiring an assistant professor. The goal is to expand the pool of potential PhD dissertation research supervisors. And we also have to revise paano po tayo magiging full professor from associate professor. Kasi ngayon, relying too much on this world ranking of universities na wala namang parameter doon na magpag-graduate ng PhD. Ang parameter noon, publications lahat. And we have increased our publications in UP, and yet the rank of UP is still between 350 and 400. So obviously that is not the approach that we need. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Cesar. Very
Okay.
provocative, thought-provoking insights. Okay.
I guess I'm picking up. There's another question from Dr. Pexon. This is for Sir Dr. Montoya. How does the is-anti community assist? Well, may ano ako nito din personal in clarifying biotechnology issues for the Supreme Court. Should the Philippines push for a law to enable safe and responsible use of biotechnology?
Yeah, thank you
Sir?
very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Pexon, for that question. That has always been a possibility. Even before I joined the council and the OST, that has already been an idea. But, you know, it's not actually a unanimous decision to support such a law because I, in fact, aware that there are two groups, either the pro or the con. Of course, the con there, I'll start with the con. The con there is that it is the fear of scientists that if we pass a law, especially a biotechnology law, it will actually further suffocate. Medyo the way laws are made in the Philippines, it's time-bound. And with the advances in science and technology, you can never have a law that can actually keep pace with developments in science and technology. That's one. And number two, policies have to adapt to the changing times. And then again, if you have a law, especially involving governance, that can actually be an issue. Of course, the pro there, which is also the issue of the other side, is that magkakaroon kasi ng structure, magkakaroon ng pondo, at saka resources. So you have to weigh both. But I should say that ako, this is my personal opinion, and I share the opinion of the other people also from the scientific community, particularly the academy, that we are not in favor of such a law or for it passing of a law, similar law being passed. I think what we should do is to be more active in the communication front. The people in the Philippines are not familiar with biotechnology and how it benefits their everyday life. Nagkaroon ako ng possibilities when I sat in the Biosafety Committee at naka-attend ako ng mga public hearing. Nire-raise dyan lagi, especially ng mga anti-biotech na yung danger sa health, danger sa mga tao. I think it's all a virtue of ignorance and lack of information. In fact, I told them that, do you know that what you are benefiting from today, from the time you wake up in the morning up to the time you sleep at night, everything you do and everything you eat and everything you take is a benefit or a product of scientific discovery. Vaccines, for example, is actually biotech. So, bakit ka magpapabakuna kung ikaw ay kalaban mo, ayaw mo naman ng ibang mga biotechnology? That is being selective. So that is just my personal opinion. And I'm very passionate about that because some of these people are really on the extreme. So I personally am not in favor of a law. But I am in favor of improving our communications and making people aware of the benefits. Kasi alam mo, hindi ko sila masisisi. Mas aktibo kasi ang mga anti-biotech compared sa mga pro-biotech. Mas aktibo sila in terms of the communication strategy. Kaya dapat doon tayo gumalaw. And I think we have to improve on that. That's my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you po, Doc.
Okay, thank you. So we see some raised hands in the Zoom. Let's call on Dr. Billy Cabellion to give his comments or questions.
It's a question, sir, and it's very brief. The attrition rate of the PhD students, this is particularly addressed to the Chancellor of UP Diliman, Chancellor Saloma, sir. The attrition rate of the PhD students really caught my eye. Ano ba yun? 15% dun sa isa, 35% dun sa isa. In your mind as the chancellor, you know, in the Philippines, it's not only raining water. It is not only raining water. It is raining Latin honors. One half of the UP medicine class is Magna. And I saw that at the university, I don't know, it's raining Latin honors. So my question is, do you foresee that the attrition rate of PhD students will improve in the light of the magnas and the cum laudes of the University of the Philippines?
Muted. Muted ka, Cesar.
Maraming salamat sa tanong niyo, Dr. Cabillon. Una po, hindi na po ako chancellor at retired na po ako since August 1. Okay, so so well, that aside, totoo po 'yon, over time mayroon po tayong data na dumadami rin ang ang graduation rate between UPCAT qualifiers and yung mag-graduate 4 years after, 5 years after is 80%. No? So mataas. And ang dahilan po dyan, over time, dumadami ang UPCAT applicants because so much so na only 1 out of 17 applicants will be able to enter UP Diliman. So that alone will show that magaling talaga yung pumasok na mga estudyante in our degree programs. For example, when I took BS Physics 40 years ago, almost 50 years ago, 5 lang po kaming graduate out sa BS Physics. No? Ngayon, lahat ng ating degree programs ay fully subscribed. No? So sa thinking ko po, yung maraming honors is a reflection of how good these students are. No? Wala namang conspiracy na babaan ang quality sa degree programs. No? Talagang mahilig lang talaga mag-aral yung ating mga estudyante ngayon at hindi nagbabago ang pedagogy ng from the sa UP Diliman, it's really like 40% between new PhD students and ang mag-graduate doon sa cohort na yon. So ang sa experience ko po, ang pinaka-major na mag-attract ng mga gagaling na bagong PhD student ay yung mga potential supervisors talaga. Personality driven din yung graduate school eh. No? So if we have more potential supervisors, we will have more PhD students coming in. No? So yan lang po ang short sagot ko kay Dr. Cabillon.
Salamat po.
Salamat din po.
Thank you, Chancellor, ex-Chancellor Saloma. And we can take Dr. Serafica and we invite more reactions or comments for the Blue Academy. Yeah.
Cesar, wag ka muna umalis. Ikaw ang target natin. Pakita.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bira ka tayong makita. Kaya ito ngayon. Actually, when I was on the board of ERDT, that was already, 2017 when we visited Israel in 2018. There was really money left on the table. Clearly, top in order to actually the science
Progress.
There's 5,000 of them at any given year, to be able to tell them, ito, may career kayo dito, ito yung pondo, ito yung pera, ito yung future niyan, kikita kayo dyan. I think that's partially what we need to do, but definitely it's not done by one person or one division. It's a group of people. If not, as I mentioned, if we want to solve the whole PhD problem, I don't know if Joel, you got my text. You have to treat it as a ecosystem solution where you involve the UST, that's the government play, already increased their scholarship. You have to have academia, who's also the mentoring aspect, but academia as NAST, academia as PAASE. And then you have your industry also, the players in industry saying that we want to hire more PhDs to do more of this. We just had a discussion with EDCOM yesterday for biotech and the 3Ds, devices, diagnostics, and drugs. And they asked me, Al, how do we develop that ecosystem? From the training all the way out to the unicorns. Sabi ko, medyo mahaba-habang usapan yan, EDCOM. Pero in reality, sabi ko, may magagawa na tayo ngayon. Marami na tayong mga STEM students na pwedeng gawing modelo. Pero of course, yung mga nakauna na, katulad nila Raul Distura na may kumpanya na, nasa 100 million sales, pwede na ang tulungan to create those examples of mga nag-aral at nag-PhD na may pupuntahan. That's what I was asking Fel Akbawan actually to develop the omics revolution that we're trying to spur here in the Philippines after our NAST discussion on omics. Looking at hypertension, matching it with genomic profile to make it more effective. So mga ganyang klaseng mentorship, how do you think we can do that now that you're retired? Pwede ba ikaw yung umuna dyan, Cesar?
Of course, with your company, Al. But magpa-clearance pa ako sa university, hindi ko pa nakuha benefits ko. But nonetheless, totoo po yan. Let me also just mention na hindi lang po DOST scholars ang apektado. May mga nagpa-faculty development programs ang mga ibang SUCs ng ating bansa. Now remember, only 11 out of 112 ang mag-qualify na mag-participate sa DOST. So, may effort naman talaga yung ating mga SUCs na mag-faculty development. Para sa Mindanao, yung mga talent doon na rin sa Mindanao, solving their own local problems. No? Because each and every dissertation research is very valuable. It leads to a certain understanding of a domestic or local problem. Kaya yung ang karamihan ng mga
Sir, your internet. Chancellor Saloma. So he may have freezed. So meanwhile, while waiting, he can get back on live. Sir, you back?
Yeah, actually, dagdagan ko yung sinabi ni Cesar.
Okay.
Kailangan talaga kausapin ng CHED, kasi si Shirley Agrupis is one of our first grantees in the US AIDS Stride program 10 years ago. We provided almost 30 million to MMSU. She knows how valuable research and masters and PhDs are in the ecosystem. So maybe now is a good time to talk to Chet and really expand the use of the other universities. Tama ka, bakit 11 lang yung kasama sa ERDP? Cesar, bumalik ka na ba? Kabalik na?
I guess Sir Saloma is
na-kick out.
na-kick out or joining. Okay. Any reaction on blue economy probably?
Sorry po.
Okay, sir.
Naputol yung linya ko. The short, i-add ko lang na yung tanong ni Dr. Al, na ngayon po ay part ako ng isang task force working for the Office of the President of UP na aayusin po itong ating faculty merit promotion system at ang ating na magkakaroon ng improvement sa environment ng mga graduate students. Very open naman ang Office of the President sa ganitong bagay. At maganda rin po ang timing kasi katatapos lang ng decision on the faculty merit promotion system, so pwede po tayo mag-reset. Kasi most likely wala nang ibang promotion pa during the term of the current president. So hindi ba po masyado maging politika? Yung, alam mo naman dito magkamali ka ng hakbang baka mabugbog ka. Sige. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you. So we welcome one more question or reaction, and we appreciate reaction on blue economy. If none,
pwede ako sa blue economy.
Okay, sir.
Kasi
just
this is
quick,
my
short, yeah.
Definitely, Academician Meñez, how far are we in developing a new roadmap for the seaweed industry? I've been asked by the industry people about mid-year, I think. But what I told them is we cannot be business as usual anymore. These are the groups of Schemberg, sila Dakay, sila SIAP, Seaweeds Association. They're asking me, how can the National Academy help formulate a new seaweed industry profile which is less dependent on production but more focused on product development? But to me, I'll extend it since you've discussed the whole blue economy aspect. We can make an example actually of the seaweeds industry having to revive it with new product development and of course new cultivars if ever. We funded, I think I remember National Scientist Trono in 2014 for Halamea in Calabarzon and Calatagan for pharma excipients for use in Australia together with Plentex. Hindi natuloy because the ecosystem was not ready. But those are the kinds of projects that I was hoping that 10 years after would have been an industry in itself. But we never got there. And the industry now is really grasping for straw. Because their problem is every time there's a fluctuation in pricing, the industry buyers will just buy something else. They'll buy santan gum, they'll buy non-seaweed derived products. And of course, kawawa naman yung mga plantations sa Tawi-Tawi with 55,000 families depending on seaweed. They have no control and they're also being strangled by the traders. Dinadaya pa nga kasi kuminsan sinasabi itong bilihan dyan. So how do we solve that ecosystem of seaweeds in order towards a roadmap where all of the industry players, the entrepreneurs, the traders, industry, academe, and government can take part of?
Okay, so just quickly, unfortunately wala dito sila Dr. Roleda, but there is a very vibrant seaweed research and development and working with industry actually, new cultivars and all of that. In fact, there's a lot of international collaboration. So one of the things we hope na talagang kailangan is the development of a marine bioresource industry. I mean, not only drug discovery and all of that, kasi and seaweed is one of those that are sort of lower hanging fruit, so to speak, and not only for the traditional products, but many other products. But we don't have, as it is, again, enough scientists, so going back to the education, so importante yung scientists. The marine scientists, marine ecologists, even doing seaweed, napaka-konti pa rin to do that kind of level. And then more importantly, napaka-konti pa rin yung sinasabi niyo na partners in terms of industry, because a lot of the Filipino entrepreneurs rely on government subsidy and would not invest. So this is where, new developments, external groups can actually help. So maybe develop that, ecosystem which is already established in more agricultural systems. Kasi ano na yan we're still biased in terms of the agriculture. Pero there's so much opportunity for fisheries. I mean, seaweed, among other things, not only for drug discovery, products and proteins and all of that. And ang problema ng mga researchers and also local partners. And so maybe partnerships and collaboration, international collab will really, help advance. I don't mean, and going back to what I said, it's not just technology.
Ano binabalik ang
Especially
volume?
with the seaweed farmers, you really have to understand the social and cultural aspects kung you really want to help the production all the way, the supply, all the way to, it has to be the complete supply chain. No? Importante rin hindi maiwanan yung nandun sa production level. So, yun siguro. So yes, there's a lot of scope to work on that, and yun lang, kailangan natin tignan yung buong supply chain, including the producers. Those are the fishers and the farmers.
Thank you, Annette. Definitely, we want to tackle that in our next stakeholders meeting for the seaweed industry. Because there are some developments, of course, like for carbon climate change. They're saying that you can use methane reduction in cows by feeding them seaweed. So, mga ganyang application, talaga pwede.
Anyway.
Thank you. Look forward to getting the stakeholders in the seaweed industry together. I'll definitely tune in with you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's very engaging discussions on technology and human resource on blue economy component of the PAGTANAW 2050. So at this point, on behalf of PAASE, we would like to acknowledge and recognize the efforts of our resource speakers and of course our reactors. Thank you very much for taking the time and effort to discuss and talk about the first half of Section 4 in the PAGTANAW 2050 document. So we have, okay. So for certificate of appreciation, let me read the certificates for our resource speakers. Certificate of appreciation is presented to Academician Marie Antonette Juinio-Meñez for being our resource speaker at the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering, PAASE, in partnership with the National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines, NAST Philippines, during the second of a special 4-part Fireside Chat series on PAGTANAW 2050, the Philippine Foresight on Science, Technology, and Innovation, held on September 4, 2025. Presented this day, September 4, 2025, with our deepest gratitude. Signed, Dr. Gladys Cheris J. Completo PAASE President 2024-2025, and signed Maria Margaret O. Peña, PhD, PAASE Vice President 2024-2025, PAASE President-elect 2026-2027. And the same certificate of appreciation is also presented to Academician Fortunato T de la Peña for the same. And also for Academician Cesar A. Saloma. So the same citation. Thank you very much, sir. And Academician Jaime C. Montoya. Dr. Edna Estifania A. And Dr. Gonzalo Serafica. Of course, Dr. Carlito Lebrella is going to share with us his reaction. Dr. Leia Tolosa Crusher, thank you very much, ma'am. Dr. Romel Gomez, sir, thank you. Dr. Mariano Santo Domingo as our reactor, and Dr. Felicitas L. Lakbawan. Okay, so in closing, we'd like to formally conclude, and this session may we call on Ma'am Miss Lenining Isamari Domingo, Director 4 of NAST, to deliver the closing remarks. Ma'am Ningning?
Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. On behalf of the National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines, I would like to sincerely thank everyone for participating in this special fireside chat series on the theme PAGTANAW 2050, the Philippine Foresight on Science, Technology, and Innovations. This series serves as a meaningful platform to engage the members and esteemed
Si President
partners
Jimmy na lang.
of the